So this video is basically me going over the builds I use the most in PvP, whether it be sixes or trials. I figured I would eventually make this video because it gets pretty tiresome when people in the stream ask repeated questions on my builds of choice in trials and 6v6. So this video is for you guys, so you don't have to ask me what my build is anymore, as I'm going into detail what my subclasses of choice are and why I have certain aspects, fragments, exotics, or what have you, First off, I'm gonna start with my most enjoyable build or subclass. That is Behemoth Titan with an SMG. Usually I use Antelope or Fighting Lion, that being my main loadout if I'm just playing regular 6v6 that isn't Iron Banner. Because if it is Iron Banner, I can't use Antelope because it's Sunset. I essentially build my aspects and fragments around my Glacier Grenade and melee uptime, so I use the Cryo Slide and Tectonic Harvest, and then for my Whispers, I use Whisper of Chains, Torment, and Shards, basically having max uptime around my Glacier Grenades and playing around it. And if I smash my Glacier Grenades, the Tectonic Harvest gives me my melee back, as that has not been nerfed with the variable cooldown system. I run Basically, my build is charge with light oriented, that particular build, so I run Swift Charge, which basically requires 3 kills in rapid succession with an SMG. I run Taken Charge, grabbing an orb, pretty self-explanatory, and then I run Stacks on Stacks, which basically gives me 2 charges of light for 1 stack. And then Radiant Light, I run it more so for the strength benefit of having my melee uptime up, but I guess it does come in handy when I pop a super and the teammate has powerful friends and it charges me with light. A lot of the time, for anyone who watches my stream, and if you use this build as well, you can get a pretty good damage rhythm going, as I call it. You basically get 1 kill with an SMG, reload, proc kill clip, melt the second guy, grab an orb. Now I'm charged with light by 2 with kill clip, so anyone that fights me, my gun just absolutely deletes them, right? So I'm literally hitting people for 36 per crit. And if I get a 3rd kill, it refreshes my charge with light because that's the 3rd kill proccing from Swift Charge, right? So it's like I have endless damage buffs, and Behemoth is the best class in the game for SMG play, since you can use Glacier Walls to cut space and force gunfights that are advantageous for you. Sometimes I use a hand cannon with this class, and when I do, I run the same aspects and fragments, but with Antaeus wards instead of Peacekeepers, so, since I'm not on an SMG. Whenever I'm playing on Hunter, I mainly prefer to use Bottom Tree Gunslinger in 6v6 because it's just a really nice class that enhances my gunplay. Whenever I'm not on an SMG, I am usually on this class with things like a pulse or any other weapon type that isn't an SMG. Usually I run Gunslinger with Gemini Jesters because this exotic alone kind of protects me from people that like to run out with their special weapons out and just straight line me. And it also protects me from supers in the sense that I take their radar away, and if they have no visual information on me at all, they have no idea where I'm running off to. So it's really easy to juke supers and get away from them. Since Gemini boots also do 2 points of damage, I could get an assist off my teammates. If my teammates gets a frag and I have them tagged up from Gemini Jesters, that gives me a minor amount of super energy as well as an extension to the knock 'em down perk if it's up. To summarize, it tempers the strength of CQC-oriented players by forcing them to either wait for their radar to come back, or they push in trusting their last known information prior to their radar being taken away, which usually ends up in death for them. And like I said, it enhances handling and stability of my weapons for getting headshot kills, and sometimes I use Aegir Scepter since Golden Gun kind of acts like a pseudo tier 3 super on that class, with the precision hits granting extra super energy, so I get relatively quick supers because I used Darkest before with the Aegir Scepter, right? So the Aegir Scepter, I don't really use the gun that much if I don't have a charged super. So I basically use Darkest before, and you want to use a weapon that fires fast for the benefit of just repeatedly chaining headshots to get maximum super energy benefits. And then when you do get a super, you use the Aegir Scepter if you have the catalyst, and then you basically have a handheld Death Star, essentially. As of recent, I put together this Stasis Hunter build since I managed to get a Luna roll with Headstone and Rangefinder. Needless to say, Headstone on a competitive weapon archetype is a huge game changer for Stasis classes. Precision kills with this Luna allows me to create pillars of ice that I can use as damage resistance, or I could break it and get another grenade back. In Trials, the ice encapsulates the orb of the enemy you kill, so it denies them a revive until they break it, which doesn't take much damage, but still, it buys you time to make a play to deny the revive yourself. I paired this build with Mask of Bacchus because it's just so nice for getting out of bad positions or to chase someone down. Dust Field Grenades are arguably the overall best stasis nade for this particular build, but I chose Cold Snaps because it's a better option for aggression. I run Whisper of Durance, Torment, and Chains. I run the slow dodge and whatever it is the hunter aspect is that basically buffs your nades. On paper, Whisper of Durance doesn't seem as valuable anymore since the slow nerfs, but when I backwards dodge near someone with Winter's Shroud, they are slowed in place for roughly 2.5 seconds, which is plenty of time for me to line up the headshot on someone with either a duality or a primary. They're slowed, they can't move, unless they're on Hunter and they can dodge, right? But 2.5 seconds, that is a lot, that is plenty of time to line up the headshot. And I mainly use duality with this build because it just complements it very well, so it's generally my go-to option. If I find myself on Hunter during Trials, I usually play Night Stalker top tree with Graviton Forfeit with a 120 hand cannon or a Cold Denial Pulse, and then pair that with Lord of the Wolves. Camo in Destiny is very strong as it allows me to take flanks and essentially be a nuisance to the enemy team with smokes that ping on radar. I prefer to throw smokes in areas that the enemy cannot visually see, so they are confused on whether or not it's a smoke. They may think it is and ignore it, but if they don't know for sure that particular ping on radar is a smoke, then they have to respect the fact that there could potentially be a player there. So they're wary of that position, right? Cold Denial allows me to play mid to long range with the short zoom that it has. It kind of struggles at longer ranges against like other pulses and Dead Man's Tail, but in closer range to like mid long range, it's perfect. And Lord of Wolves is basically an anti-shotgun weapon, so it pairs pretty well. In short, the Invis class allows me to play flanks and just be a nuisance and just bait the radar. And like I said, just be a nuisance to play against. As for Warlock, the only time I'm ever really playing Warlock is during Trials, due to the fact that top tree Void Lock is very good, especially if you use it with charged Axions. So I use that and 100 Discipline, so I always have a tool that creates an opening for my team and I to be aggressive. For weapon choice, I mainly just use a hand cannon and a shotty to complement the pressure that charged Actions puts on players on the receiving end. For example, there's like some cool wombo combo that you can do with it. If you toss the charged Axion in an area and it seeks a player, all you have to do is headshot them once with a 140 hand cannon or a 120 hand cannon. And if the grenade tags them at all, that kills them since the grenade does like 130-ish to 140 damage, roughly. So it's always nice. And I guess the cool thing about Axions is that, like I said, it puts pressure on the enemy team by forcing them to move. And if they don't move, they take the 130 something damage. And if they do move, they're running away across the map, getting away from it. So it's literally just frees up the map for you and it gives you free map control. And if they do take the time to shoot it, it allows you or your teammates to get uncontested shots on them. So it makes it easier. Overall, if you're not running this nade, I don't know what you're doing. And since I'm on PC, that means I'm susceptible to matching cheaters. So in the event that I do match a blatant cheater or someone that I suspect is cheating, I will swap the bottom tree Dawnblade for the purpose of 3-peeking with Phoenix Dive, which isn't very often, thankfully. Sometimes I play top tree Storm with max discipline and Storm nades for the same reason as top Nova, but Storm has a considerably longer cooldown time for the super. So I'm on Nova for that reason. Like if it's a tight game, I know I'm gonna get a super playing Nova Bomb since it's tier 3. And Storm is what, tier 2? And it may not be much, but like that's like one and a half to 2 minute difference, right? Like that storm, I could play my ass off and I may never get the super, even in a tight game. But with Nova Bomb, I'll always have the super, guaranteed. If I'm playing my life and I'm getting frags and contributing to team fights, I will guarantee to have my super. You can't promise that on Stormlock unless you're running max intellect, which just isn't really worth anymore. Well, so there you have it. Those are all the builds that I usually am running whenever I play PvP, whether it be 6v6 or trials. Now you guys can stop asking me what build I'm running, because here's the video right here for you guys. I'll just refer people to the video. That way it's a lot easier, right? So if you need clarifications on anything or have any questions about a build, I'll gladly answer it in the comments. In the meantime, I'll see you around.